Hey folks, XRP is currently sitting at about $2.98, and everything's still doing the same thing it's going to be doing. As I mentioned earlier, I think toward the end of September is when we're going to start to see some real action as we get closer to those ETF approvals and interest rate decreases from the Fed. Those are two things that just come off the top of my head. However, a couple of weeks back, I think I put out a video where one of the developers over on the XRP ledger from EZA on live TV, I think it was on the CNBC Business Channel, said that he thought XRP could easily hit $1,000 between now and 2030. So, and I mean, I'm right there with him. I agree. I think it may well exceed that. But in this video here, he had him and his brother, Dom, and I think it's Phil Kwok. They had an interview with Paul Barron, and he kind of gives them a little more of an idea of how it is that XRP can get from here to there. And really, any one of the methods in which they mention and can help get XRP there, but all of them put together, all these strategies that Ripple and XRP are employing right now to reach those valuations, whether it's through stable coins, through international payments, through portions of the SWIFT network, through tokenized treasuries or tokenized securities, or tokenized real estate on the XRP ledger. There's so many different ways that this thing is going to come. DeFi, for example, is going to be huge on the XRP ledger. All these things point in that same direction, but when you put them together, it's an undeniable force. So let's take a quick look. During the interview, Dom Kwok explained how XRP can reach $1,000. And these are some of the methods. Swift modeling shifting, using a little bit more XRP for some more of the transactions. Stablecoin plus XRP ledger adoption. Trillions moved globally on chain. Those ETFs also, that's a lot of institutional money, a lot of demand coming in, and they're piling in quickly. We just talked about on another video how the futures reached, what was it, $1 billion in demand, faster than any other ETF futures in history. So that alone gives you an idea of what the buy pressure is going to be through those ETFs for the digital asset XRP. And the path is clear. XRP is inevitable, and it is. It's just inevitable. It's a huge company in Ripple with a great marketing team, with great solutions. Financial solutions for institutions, for large banks, for large financial institutions, hedge funds, retirement fund managers, that kind of thing. And so these ETFs are going to be a really huge unlock for the value of the digital asset XRP. But let's listen to it from their own mouths, and let's take a look and see what they have to say. But I think it's just a common sense approach. It's common sense to look at it. This company is building from here. You can see where it's going to end up there. All the dots are connecting properly. They're making all the proper acquisitions, the proper upgrades to the XRP ledger. They're lining up all the legal regulatory clarity, and they're building on partnerships they've already had. And never forget, they have 1,700 NDAs that are still in place. What other company that is backing a digital asset has that? Who could these 1,700 institutions be? People? Banks? What is it? I have a guess. I think it's a lot of banks. That's what I think it is. Anyways, let's take a look at the video. Like, share, and bookmark. Let me know what you think in the comments. We will see you guys on the next one. Till next time.
And that's why we're so interested and so so what's the word, vocal, I guess, about XRP and really bringing it up there, because you normally talk about a list, you talk about the top three, you don't just talk about the top two. So that's why for us. We just see so much potential in the space, and we see blockchain as really expanding the market as opposed to just serving the addressable market, which I think a lot of people view currently.
Yeah, which is where we're at today in terms of what's happening in the space. It's mostly just it's everybody's drinking the same Kool-Aid. We get it, but I think there's definitely a leg up. And this goes back to my final question to you, Dom, is, you had, I think it was $1,000 price thesis. Was it based on the SWIFT model starting to shift, the growth of the XRP ledger, or potentially the growth of stablecoin, or kind of a combination of all?
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question, and a lot of people asked for the sort of more detailed explanation, which I'm currently working on sort of putting out. But I think for the purpose of this, at a high level at least, it's a combination of all of them. Obviously, Swift is a big component, but then a lot of it is actually driven by the use cases that we're actually seeing on the ground, in person, in real life. All of these incredible projects that are coming out and actually utilizing the XRP ledger in different ways. Obviously, DeFi and finance are a huge use case, but then also, like I was talking about before, billions and billions are transferred internationally from people in the US to people abroad, both in terms of business, remittances, but then also in terms of charity. And all sorts of use cases. And ultimately, when those applications really start to get used on an institutional level, that's really where you start to see not only more activity on the XRP ledger, obviously a huge, multiple times explosion, but also you start to see people focused more in terms of just, retail, looking at the tech underlying. That's why companies like NVIDIA, for example, have seen, 1,000-fold increases in the price. Is because retail start to come and they start to see, AI is really taking off now. What's the best way I can actually invest in that? It's through the products that NVIDIA makes. And so ultimately, I think that's going to be a really interesting part of the whole story. Is when those sort of 93% of people, obviously less accounting people who don't have access to the internet, etc. But that huge proportion of people who don't currently own crypto come into the space and figure out that XRP exists.
So and you've got the
huge pressure upwards on the price.
Exactly. You got the